So back in 2012, I was visiting my brother in East Providence, Rhode Island, in a 200-year-old house. Since I've been going there, I've witnessed strange things happen, and staying there has made me go from being somewhat skeptic to a downright believer. As I was saying, back when I first visited his house, my brother Nathan and his partner Don threw a party for me, and I arrived about when everyone else arrived. He lives on the top floor of this old Victorian house that is divided up into apartments, and they take up the entire floor. During this party, we heard a slam, and my brother's friends went to investigate the issue. The doors in the kitchen were all closed after being open. Weird. So I didn't really think much of it. The party went on, and I later went to sleep in the guest bedroom. With some minor issues the morning after, I went to New York for work, and then came back a few days later. The second night of going to sleep in the bedroom, I couldn't help but feel uneasy, like something was watching me. I knew about the ghost sightings in the house, but being a skeptic, I wasn't too nervous. So later that night I awoke, and the bedroom and closet doors were both wide open. Now when my brother said goodnight, he closed both doors. He also had a nightlight in the room, which I thought was silly, which I had turned off. So when I noticed the doors open, I figured maybe Don or he had come in for something in the closet and just forgot to close the doors. I do that sort of stuff all the time at home. So anyway, I go to the bathroom since I'm awake and come back and close the bedroom and closet doors. Then I go back to bed. Next morning I awake to both doors open again. And once again I didn't think anything of it and closed the doors. Fast forward to later that day, and I asked my brother, "Hey, did you come into my room last night and get something in the closet?" He replied, "No, of course." I say, "Why?" and he thinks for a moment, then asks, "Your first night here, did you open your door in the middle of the night?" Because I had to close it when Don went to work. And of course I replied, "No." He thinks for a second, then smiles and says, "Oh, that's just the ghost, like it's no big deal." So now when I stay over at his place before I go to sleep, I make sure to say goodnight to the ghost, and I sleep with the nightlight on like I'm some toddler. It makes things not disappear or get moved. Odd, isn't it? I live in a 2-story home with a basement, and it's less than 20 years old, so still pretty new. There was an older couple who lived here before us, but no one has died in the house that we are aware of. My family and I moved in during November 2012. The first 2 years here were very quiet, but in 2014, the paranormal activity started picking up. The first memorable encounter was one day when my sister and I were home alone. We started hearing someone or something walking around upstairs in my parents' bedroom. We assumed it was our 2 dogs, but when we remembered, they were outside in the backyard. My next thought did not even go to anything paranormal. I was actually worried there was an intruder in our house. We have a pretty open floor plan, so I can see into my parents' bedroom from the landing on the stairs. I decided to grab a frying pan and a large kitchen knife and go up to the landing to look into the room to see if I could see anyone. I made my way up and was looking around, but I couldn't see anything out of place or anyone walking in the room. My sister asked me, "What do you see?" And just as I was about to answer her, something growled at us from the bedroom. Now, I'm not talking about an animal growl or a low, demonic growl. I'm talking about something like a walking dead zombie growl. I've never in my life heard anything like it. My sister and I looked at each other and booked it out the front door. Our neighbors saw us run out and came to ask us if we needed help. We explained to her what happened, and she and her husband checked the entire house. We did not find anything. In between the major events, little things would happen here and there that we struggled to find explanations for. Phantom footsteps, misplaced items, closing and opening doors, voices, and my mom even swore she saw a woman walk behind her in the reflection of our window. My boyfriend was on FaceTime with me one night, and he said, I don't want to make you panic, but I need you to go inside the bathroom and lock the door right now." I ran inside and asked him what the fuck was going on. He said, "I didn't want to freak you out, but there was something behind you. It looked like a person, but it wasn't." He is one of the biggest ghost skeptics, so I know he wasn't lying or pranking me. Another night I woke up in my bed being violently shaken and literally, out loud, said, "Please stop shaking my bed." It immediately stopped. Then I heard footsteps walk up to my bed and felt something climb onto it. I was so tired I wasn't thinking clearly about what was happening. It didn't hit me how creepy it was until the next morning, when I remembered what happened. I know it definitely wasn't a dream because it was light outside from the sun rising when it happened. My sister called me hyperventilating and sobbing so hard she couldn't talk one night in June 2017. My parents' brother and I were all out to dinner, so my sister was home alone. I got her to calm down and explain to me what happened. My brother's room is right at the top of the stairs when you get on the second floor of my house. She said she was walking towards the stairs and my brother's door was cracked, about a foot open. She could see a figure crouching down on my brother's floor. Its body was all black, but its face was white. Where the mouth and eyes should have been, there were black holes. She said she stared at it for a few seconds before she was so confused at what she was looking at. All of a sudden, this creature thing lunges towards her and she took off running down the stairs and out of the house to her car. A few weeks later, she was home alone again. She said she saw two legs that she could best describe as the shape of a dog's, but they were all black. She said this thing was walking, but its movement was really jerky and awkward. She also woke up one night to a weird sound in the corner of her room. When she looked up to where the sound was coming from, the cross hanging on her wall was moving so it was facing towards her instead of flat against the wall. She thought she was dreaming until she woke up the next morning and the cross was still facing her. More recently, back in November of 2018, my mom was home alone getting dressed for work. She was in the bathroom attached to the bedroom, and one of our dogs was in the bedroom. She walked into her bedroom to change into her work clothes when she saw a little boy sitting on the ground petting our dog. She said the little boy was about 5 or 6 years old with blonde hair and chubby cheeks, and the dog was looking right at the boy. She let out a loud gasp, and the little boy looked at her. The boy quickly leaned out of view behind a dresser and vanished. There's no crawl space back there or anything like that but the dresser, so if it was not a ghost, it could not have just disappeared. My mom is a big skeptic, but she was very adamant that it is exactly what she saw. This definitely put everyone on edge for a while. This brings me to right now and why I'm writing this post. Like I mentioned earlier, we have a basement in my house that contains old furniture, holiday decorations, and an air hockey table. I got up about 2 a.m. to use the bathroom. When I was walking back to my room, I noticed a weird sound coming from downstairs. I sat and listened to the clink, clink, clink noise for a good 2 minutes. And I thought, I know this sound. What is it? And that's when I realized it's the sound of the air hockey puck makes as it hits off the sides of the table. The noises were inconsistent, and a number of clinks were different every time. I heard it, so it definitely wasn't anything else like the ice machine or something. Plus, it's a really distinct noise that I'm sure you can even picture right now if you've ever played air hockey. My first thought was that my brother or sister must be downstairs or something, but they were both fast asleep in their rooms. Same with my parents. I pulled out my phone to take a video of the sound, and the second I hit record and my phone made the recording ding noise, the sound from the basement stopped. My heart fell into my stomach, and I ran back to my room to type this out. I'm not really sure what to do, but I know I've appreciated being away at college because I cannot sleep when I'm here. I'm not sure what's in the house either, but I definitely know something is here. What do you guys think? When I was young, I lived with my parents and older sister in a trailer home on a plot of land behind my grandparents' house, which was no kidding, a large 2-story pink house out in Galveston County, Texas. Behind the properties was a family with their own U-Haul rental business and their house. The family was a wife, 2 daughters, and a husband. Now I won't be naming any names except one, the husband. There was a man named Timothy Gribble. Now Timmy here was a convicted murderer. He strangled and raped 2 women. He was given the death penalty and executed back in 2000. I lived in the trailer up until my 4th grade year and then ended up moving to the Pink House to house sit it for my grandparents as they moved to a new home for retired folks. Now, I am mainly just trying to at least place the setting. Perhaps it will help to bring some understanding as to what I experienced over the years on these properties. Even when I was a kid and moved into the Pink House, or even visiting, I always felt off being there. Like something was just not right. Nothing really happened though until I was in 6th or 7th grade. First, it was a weird thing with the front door. It would just open on its own. At first, it would just open slowly and stay open. Easily explainable, right? Door unlocked, old house, town sitting on a fault line. So the foundation wasn't exactly the best. That never really weirded me out. No, what was weird was one night around 8 or 9 p.m. I was just sitting watching TV in the living room, and the door just opened and closed itself quickly, twice. Didn't creep me out right away because I figured, oh, it's just my cousin. He said he's coming by to pick up an inhaler for my mother as they both had asthma. He was known to be a little jokester towards me, and so whatever. I will just see if it was him. I looked outside and my driveway was empty. I asked my mother if he had just came in and she said no. So I put it out of my mind and moved on. Fast forward further down the road, I laid down for bed and I start hearing a faint noise, like a hand faintly pounding on the wall or floor. From there on, I would hear this every night. I disregarded it since no one else could hear it, and I said I was just imagining it. It bothered me for a while, and then I just accepted that it won't go away, and I will just once again move on. Figured if there is something, it's just doing its thing, and as long as it left me alone, I would leave it alone. And then the night came that I actually saw something. I couldn't explain it, and to this day my family swears I just imagined it. It was around 3 a.m. I was in the living room playing a video game on the TV. So I go to the kitchen to get a drink and look across the room, and there was a figure standing there, and I froze. My dining room kitchen is a bit large. I was standing at the entrance next to the staircase looking across the dining room past the bar into the kitchen, and there was a figure standing there. The figure of a woman. She was a slim build, wearing a long nightgown, and well, had no head. Now there wasn't a bloody stump where the neck was, just there was no head. I froze. I wasn't truly scared, just unsure how to react and just wasn't processing what I was seeing. I turned around, went back in the living room, and just sat down confused. I kept thinking about it and pondering, did I really see that? Was that real? So I got up and went back in there. She was still there, never moved, just standing there. I went back and out several times, and she did not leave. I finally said, okay, you stay there. I don't care, do what you do, and I'm going to my room and going to sleep. No response, not even a wave, nothing. So I went to bed, laid there all night until 6 a.m. terrified, wondering, what if she comes up here into my room? Thankfully, that was the last I saw her. But there were other experiences. A couple weeks after that, we were doing some remodeling work on my room. So I wound up having to sleep a few nights in my parents' room on the floor. As was every night, the faint pounding noise continued. Again, I would ignore it and just sleep. But that night, the noise grew a little louder each time. It stayed faint, but grew slightly louder. I would ask the parents, "You hear that?" And they would say, "No, of course they didn't." As it continued, it finally just stopped for a little while. It was oddly quiet. I figured, okay, finally guessed it got tired. After about 10 or 15 minutes, something slammed into my parents' closed door to the room hard. It sounded like someone just ran headfirst into it. And trust, it was loud. I sat up and said, okay, I know I'm not the only one who heard that. Parents agreed. My father and I checked the whole house, even our attic, which is not a place you really want to go into since the house was so old. Nothing. No one was there, but us. The noise went back to its faint self that night after that. To this day, I think about it all the time. I have had other things happen, but these two events stick out all the time. And I just still don't know what to think about them. I don't know if this woman in the kitchen was a victim of the Gribble guy, or if someone else. I just don't know. Hell, I wish I actually had some evidence to even prove it all happened. Either way, it happened, and I guess nothing else I can say there. Some days, I wish I did imagine it all. This is a retelling of an experience or encounter a friend of mine had many years ago. You see, back when I was 18 to 20 years old, I was in a little metal band with 4 others, and this incident happened to our bass player in his home, which was also where we would gather for practice. However, in a way, it involved all of us. Again, this is his telling of the incident. Also, this happened in South Texas in December time frame. It happened sometime late at night, according to him. It started around 11 p.m. or 12 a.m. He woke up randomly and just felt compelled to look out his window. He was sleeping on the living room couch that night. When he looked, he saw a shadowy figure crossing his yard. He said it looked like it was moving very erratically. His example was like how the doctor moved in the remake of House on Haunted Hill. Thinking he was just tired and half awake, he thought nothing of it and assumed it was just one of his neighbors, as they were known to cross through his yard at night like that. Shortly after that, he woke up with a feeling like someone was holding him down and making it hard for him to breathe, which sure sounds like sleep paralysis, except he claimed the whole time he could hear chanting and whispering around him, and no one was in the room with him. It eventually stopped abruptly after a minute or two. He sat up confused, terrified, and got a drink of water and tried to go back to sleep, which happened eventually. Shortly after that, it all happened again. Same feeling, same chanting and whispering. He always said he never knew or could understand exactly what was being chanted and whispered. Regardless, this episode ended. He once again was scared and confused. He chalked this up to maybe it was just a bad dream and managed to go back to sleep. Then it all happened once more. He woke up like something was holding him down and making it hard to breathe. The chanting and whispering all around him, though this time something new happened. He said he looked over next to him on the couch, and standing in front of the Christmas tree was a short, about 4 foot tall, shadowy figure that appeared to be cackling at him, though it wasn't making any other noise. This went on for what he said felt like forever, and this time when it stopped, he said forget sleeping and went to his bedroom and played with his bass guitar the rest of the night. Also, for the remainder of the night, coming from the direction of his sister's room, he would hear 2 knocks every couple of minutes. He didn't go back to sleep until the next night due to this. When the band and I gathered the next day for practice, he told us what happened. And of course we all laughed and said he was full of shit. Then he showed us that in his yard, he found what looked like footsteps tracked through his yard all the way to his front door. The steps were just that, footsteps, made from shoes, but no defining features to him, no imprint of the bottom of the shoe, just plain. Then when he told us around what time this started happening, and that it was about 3 a.m. the last attack happened, we all froze, because of what we realized we were doing that night. Our singer woke up randomly and was praying. Our lead guitarist woke up and just could not go back to sleep, feeling like something was wrong, off. And I, for no reason, woke up, turned on my lamp, and just started reading the Bible. We all realized that all of us, at the same time he was experiencing the incident, had gotten up at 3 a.m. and either prayed, read a Bible, or felt a sense of dread. Our drummer wasn't there the time he told us this, and he never said if he did anything that night as well. But the story had him spooked. This story has stuck with me for many years, and I still have no way of explaining it. But I figured you would all like to hear it. My buddy never had another experience like this again. Thank you for watching. And if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, share, subscribe, and click the bell for notifications. And if you have an experience or a story to tell, feel free to email me at the address listed in the description. And remember, hell is empty and the devils are here.